Hello everybody and welcome to Racing Kart JPR in Austricourt in eastern France for the second day of the opening round of the 2026 BNL Karting Series season. It's our 18th championship year, having been established back in 2008, and we are returning to eastern France for the first time since 2023. Well, day one really kick-started 2026 with the proverbial bang, because we had some great close racing all the way through the day, right up until the finals yesterday afternoon. But today there's been a little bit of a twist in the tail, so to speak. Morning warm-up was cancelled. Then we had a further delay, so we've only just completed time qualifying for all of our 6 classes here at this circuit at Austricourt itself. Meantime, however, we have had our first set of 8 respective scores being handed out for all our respective classes over the course of the championship season, which will be each driver can score 8 total point scores over the course of the season. That is on each final for every single day of competition, right the way through to the 4th of October, as we are already on our path to Portimao, the venue for the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals in 2026 that will take place between the 21st and the 28th of November this year. However, more to the point, there's going to be plenty of racing to keep you all entertained here live on the BNL Karting Series YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, give us a like, share and subscribe. And of course, this is a WFR Live TV production. WFR Live TV, our Portuguese friends, have once again returned for the 2026 season, which kick-started with the Champions Winter Trophy, which did actually feel like it was winter because we had a bit of a blizzard hit Karting Genk at the podiums. But to give you a bit of an update on the first point scores that have been already issued for this season, when it comes to the Mini-Max division, Joshua Cook is the points leader. The 175 from KR Sport took a maximum score of 55 points in yesterday's final, ahead of Austin Oman and Dayan Habits, the winner of this year's Champions Winter Trophy. Also with that, Sam Pollock Racing's Arlo Gamble, the defending Mini Rookie Champion for 2025, took the win in the Rookie division. Going on to juniors, it was Kian Bernard, Luan Seidel and Alfie Ward who ended up being confirmed as the top 3 after a post-race penalty for Dan Holland Racing's Albie Friend, who took the win on the road but was given a 5-second penalty post-race after crossing line after what was a really very closely fought affair. But they do say that there is strength in numbers, and that's what KR Sports have brought here this weekend, the team led by Ash Orchard. Len Nyes took the win in DD2 yesterday ahead of Jort van Wyk and SP Motorsport teammate Ralph van der Pavet. Jim Ringelberg is the leader in the Masters division. Now, he won that title back in 2015. Taze van Wyk leads the way in seniors, as here we go. Time for racing action. For our first heat, it's qualifying heat B versus C for Junior Rotax. So, as with yesterday, it's going to be for all qualifying heats for juniors and seniors, 7 minutes plus an additional lap. So, good to see some cheers in the chat for Zain Safoglu. Also, we've got some nice welcome greetings from Switzerland, courtesy of Stefan, and hoping that there's going to be more exciting races. Jos Dalaman saying go Yenthi Moonen. And fellow commentator Guillaume Alvarez is in the chat. Good morning to you, buddy. Hope you're keeping well. But let's take you through the starting grid for this. Lieke van Berkel starts from pole position, the young driver from SP Motorsport. She'll have Denmark's young hotshot from KR Sport, Finn Albert Jorgensen alongside on the front row. Rades Pascu and Louis Radcliffe ran at row 2 with Luan Seidel and Jensen Chalk on row 3. Yenthi Moonen, Trent van Melk, Kian Bernard, yesterday's winner on day 1 in the final. He'll be ahead of SPR teammate Sam Kohler. Julian Dummer, Albert Friend, Max Bogsall and Alfie Ward ran at row 7. Didier Dardal and Riley Murrow row 8. Louis Perron-Mousset and Matthias Verreken ran at row 9. Then we have got Nathan Lecure and Augustin Hanik rounding out the top 20. Dion Bracker Tobias Johns, Lionel Munguia and Yilan Vandenberger round out the 24-strong grid. Of course, this circuit celebrating its 30th anniversary here in 2026. 1.45 kilometres, runs clockwise, 13 turns in all. So it is time to grab your popcorn, your soft beverage or hot required drink of choice, whether it be tea or coffee, and stick with us for the exciting racing action that we've got in store. There's the 218 of MLC Motorsports. Jensen Chalk, who's going to be starting on the outside of row number 3. So the red lights are on the gantry for the first time here on the last day of the opening round of the championship. And in 4 weeks' time, we go to the more prevalently French-speaking region of Cauvin in southern Belgium at Karting de Fagne International Raceway at Marienborg, which will then mark the halfway point of the championship season. So pole position is on the right-hand side of the circuit, giving Lieke van Berkel the advantage going into turn number 1. And all the drivers now making their way through turn 12. And it will be at a slow crawl. And once they come out of turn number 13, the revs will rise and we will be set and ready for racing here on day 2, round 1, BNL Karting Series 2026. Out of the final corner they come. Let's go. Revs up, lights on. And qualifying heat 1 for juniors is green here at Austricourt. Oh, bit of a wobble by one of the drivers. That looks a bit as almost someone's gone backwards, and that has not gone well at turn 1. And straight away, Lionel Munguia is stuck and let's just say more than rather frustrated. The left side pod did get a bit of a hit and it was pushed upwards. And a couple of drivers did not have the best of starts either. Someone did end up spinning 180 degrees the wrong way. And I think, well, Yilan Vandenberger in the 228 is down at the bottom part of the field. But it is Van Berkel leading the way. That is Pascu, the youngster from Switzerland, in P2. Luan Seidel, his countryman, but an arrival team. KR Sport rounds out third at the moment as they go down the hill. As we quickly come to the conclusion of lap 1. Van Berkel nearly sideways as she attacks the curb hard through the left-hander at turn 12. Yellow flags, so no overtaking permitted into turn 1. Lionel Munguia out of the race. Kart on the escape road. But here into turn 3. Van Berkel leading the conga line. Kian Bernard up 5 spots already. And now into P4. Finn Albert Jorgensen rounds out your top 5. Julian Dummer, the youngster from Germany, up 5 places. Now runs 6 ahead of Jensen Chalk. Albert Friend started on the outside of row 6. He's made 4 places up early. Rounds out your top 8. Trent Van Malik and Alfie Ward up 4. Rounds out your top 10. Keep your eyes on Matthias Verdaken and Nathan Lucuhor. The two have made up 7 places apiece and round out the top 12. After the opening lap, the top 18 rounded out by the 274 of the UK's Tobias Johns, covered by 3.7 seconds. Loris Perron-Mousset now fastest lap. Now make that Louis Radcliffe. Make that Yenthi Moonen now. Yenthi Moonen, who started now, I think that was Yenthi Moonen who was backwards out of turn 1 as Jensen Chalk fires it up the inside and gets through on Finn Albert Jorgensen for position. That is a change for 4th. Kian Bernard now has got through on Luan Seidel, who's dropped to 6th. So Kian Bernard on an absolute storm forward. The field make their way through turn number 8 and out of the chicane. Some will use the curbing, like Julian Dummer just did in the 225. Bernard through on Rares Pascu. That is the change for second position. As now the 282 from Sam Pollock Racing will try and close the gap to the race leader, who now leads us onto lap 4, Lieke van Berkel. Nearly 0.6 of a second up the road. Kean Bernard, 58.463. New fastest lap by the 282 from Sam Pollock Racing. Now into the heavy braking zone. Bernard touches the white line as the back end steps out to the left-hand side. But he's trying to close that gap. He was nearly 1.5 quicker than Van Berkel in the opening sector alone, which concludes at the exit point of turn 3. And halfway through the chicane is when we conclude sector number 2. Luan Seidel, who's dropped down to 6th position. The youngster from Switzerland for KR Sport has gone purple in the opening 2 sectors and could very shortly set the new fastest lap of the race. And a dive to the inside of Vladis Pascu at turn 12. Jensen Chalk now moves up to P3. 3 minutes to go. And the gap between Bernard in second and Van Berkel in first has now been halved. Luan Seidel, new fastest lap of the race, 58.003 for the 221 from KR Sport. As now Bernard for the lead at turn 3. Through he goes. And there comes Jensen Chalk. He's going to throw it round the outside at 4. Is he going to try at 5? No. Bernard parks it on the racing line. And Chalk has to use discretion as the better part of valour as they head through into turn 6 and 7. But he loses a place, at least. And Luan Seidel, the 221 from Switzerland, back up into second position. Kean Bernard now up 8 places and is the race leader as we have 2.5 minutes plus an additional lap to go down into the final couple of corners. Go our leaders. And Bernard showing that at this moment in time he wants it. Oh, and big run wide coming out of the final corner by Lieke van Berkel. She kept the throttle pinned, but that is now going to allow Finn Albert Jorgensen to close on in. Bernard goes defensive into turn 3. Seidel unable to do anything about it. And now this brings Jensen Chalk back into play. Through out of turn 7 they go. And this is now going to be very close. Who's going to use the curbing on the chicane? Bernard does. Seidel does. Chalk does. But Seidel took the least of it. He's trying to look to the inside at turn 10. Bernard neatly covers him off. As next time around, we'll be on the cusp of 3 laps to go. Jensen Chalk, once again, audacious inside lunge on Luan Seidel. And for the MLC Motorsport driver in the 218, that works. So we could be on the cusp of this, maybe another 2 laps in addition. We're on lap number 7. So Lieke van Berkel finds herself in 4th position. We have lost Nathan Lecure. Riley Morrow is unfortunately out the 222. Lionel Munguia and Yilan Vandenberger are out of the race. So we're down to 20 runners and riders, rounded out by Jenthi Moonen, who has had a first qualifying heat to forget, I'm afraid. Finn Albert Jorgensen now gets a black and white warning flag from Race Control. Of course, Race Control are looking at driver standards. And it's just to give them a little bit of a warning that they are being watched. As here we go again, and that's another lunge for the inside at turn 12. Jensen Chalk brings us on to, it's going to be close. And we are going to have 2 more laps. 2.9 kilometres to go. And now the frenzy starts in earnest. Chalk defensive. Oh, the concertina effect starts making its mark. And here goes Lieke van Berkel to the outside at turn 4. Gets through on Luan Seidel. Trent van Melk in the meantime. New fastest lap, 57.831. And he's all the way down in 16th position, having started 8th. And Bernard to the lead. That's a great little move by the Sam Pollock Racing driver in the 282 at turn 7 on Jensen Chalk. We will have 1 more lap to go. And oh dear, drama, I'm afraid, for one of the SP Motorsport drivers. There's a lot of steam coming up. I mean, it is quite cold in the air. It's 11 degrees centigrade, and I'm wondering who that might be. But last lap is underway. Bernard leads. ahead of Chalk. That's DD2, I'm afraid, that's going to be out. The 299 from Belgium. So at this point, there is still an opportunity for maybe something to happen. As Van Berkel makes her way through on Alfie Ward. Cian Bernard leads us into turn 11 for the final time. Is Jensen Chalk going to do his special move through into turn 12? No, Bernard anticipates it. But here comes Luan Seidel through the final corner. It is going to be Cian Bernard that is going to take the win, but it's by next to nothing. 82 thousandths of a second at the flag. Luan Seidel in third place. A further 79 thousandths adrift. Lieke van Berkel and Alfie Ward round out your top five. Albert Friend up to 6 at the end, followed by Finn Albert Jorgensen. Lars Pascu, Louis Radcliffe and Gillian Dummer from Germany round out your top 10. Stan van Melk and Thies van Aken rounds out your top 12. Louis Perron-Mousset next up in 13th position. And that is ahead of Tobias Johns, Max Bogstal, Augustin Hanik, Sam Kohler, Jens Moonen and Dion Brakke being the last of the classified runners and riders in that one. Unfortunately, we lost Edith Dale, Nathan Lecure, Riley Morrow, Lionel Munguia and Nilan Vandenberger from Belgium. So despite there being a little bit of low-lying mist, not fog, because it was quite dense earlier on today, it was a very, very close fought affair here at Ostricourt. There was the incident at turn number 1 which saw Jens Moonen the wrong way round. Oh, that was the moment where Lionel Munguia had nowhere to go, completely sideways and into the side of the 222 of Riley Morrow. So the residual impact caused a bit of a chain reaction. There's Cian Bernard's move at turn 1 on Luan Seidel. And then followed that up with a move here on the 235 of Lars Pascu. Then, of course, the move came along for Cian Bernard to get through as Lieke van Berkel ran wide. Then Jensen Chalk decided to throw the haymaker to the outside, but Bernard was able to keep a cool head on calm young shoulders to get through, and then he retook the lead at turn 7 after Chalk had initially dive-bombed him at turn 12, which seems to be a nice little overtaking spot for some drivers. But it was a drag race to the line, and Cian Bernard winning on the road ahead of Jensen Chalk and Luan Seidel. So now we move from the junior division to our senior drivers. And it was Vince van der Halle that earlier on this morning in the 372 from Bouvin Power took pole position. Bran van der Weyken, his teammate from Bouvin Power, leads Group B, and the defending BNL Karting Series and Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals champion, Macaulay Bishop, rounded out the top three overall ahead of Charlie King, Antoine Lemieux, Max Sidursky, Harry Freeman, Raphael Moreau, Boris Verhagen, and Ryan Gandor are also in the top 10. Tino Potier for Dams Racing, not in that particular occasion, not showing up as having set a lap time on that one. But the mechanics have been instructed to clear the grid. So after the recovery clear-up has been carried out, looks like Louis Oliver Gunter is having a discussion with one of the our team on the pre-grid. So just being explained about how things will go. Louis Oliver Gunter due to start in the second half of the field, so once we get given the signal that the track has been made clear and is available to the drivers to go out there. Good to see Kitty in the chat, Macaulay's mum. Also Isaac Barker cheering on Dan Holland Racing here. So green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid for the first qualifying heat, Group B and C. Let's take you through the starting grid. Bran van der Weyken starts on pole position. Macaulay Bishop will be alongside on the front row. Antoine Lemieux and Max Sidursky will round out row 2. Raphael Moreau and Boris Verhagen will round out row 3 ahead of Scott Marsh and Matthias Jellerup. Then Lars Lambers, Ladoko Enidze, Ryan Bourguignon, Boris Maximov, Callum Sims, Kenneth Van McKirker, Tom Longnoir, Sverre Ubben, Vic van Kampenhout, Louis Oliver Gunter will have to start from the dummy grid and wait until the lights go out and then will be released. Bastien Mesniel, Conor Large, Hjalde Risgaard, Augustin Boulet, Krik Knoren, Raymer Van Beek, Koen Willems, Priam Lelanc, Aaron Dewan running the Mumbai Falcons race suit this weekend. Tino Potier in the 3:59. Now, did not set a lap time in qualifying, so whether Tino is unable to make this race. Once again, it will be 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Good to see Patrick Verbest in chat once again, cheering on as always. Bran van der Weyken, the 396 from Bouvin Power. So, air temperature has now reached double digits, 11 degrees centigrade here in eastern France at Ostricourt. Also, some cheers for Taze and Jort van Wijk, telling them to go for it. Great motivation there in the YouTube chat. So, if you are watching along and you haven't put your name in the chat, you haven't said who you're supporting, don't worry, I'm keeping a keen eye on it, so we'll make sure that you'll get a shout out. But it is down to Bram van der Weyken, the defending BNL and Grand Finals champion from 2025. Dan Holland Racing's Macaulay Bishop in the number 301 Lando Norris chassis. So, here we go. Revs up, lights on, and we are green for senior Rotax heat number 1. Bishop tries to go towards the outside. Antoine Lemieux going wheel to wheel and gets through on his Dan Holland Racing teammate in the form of Bishop. Down to turn 3 for the first time as we conclude sector 1, and to the outside goes Scott Marsh with a big rate of speed. Goes to 3:47. We've got a yellow flag at turn 3. Bastien Mesniel and Raymer Van Beek look to be the ones that might not have made it through so far, but Scott Marsh has absolutely moved up the order, and he started down in 7th position on the inside of row number 4 and is now chasing down Antoine Lemieux. Samar Chopra cheering on Danny Shields, who will be in action in the next one. And there is the 3:23 off on the circuit, I'm afraid. And that is France's Ryan Bourguignon. Oh dear, disaster for the French driver on home soil, as here we see Scott Marsh to the inside at turn 1 on Antoine Lemieux, the Canadian, and gets through for second position. Max Sadursky, who suffered a big hit in one of the heats yesterday, is back to fine form, and he's challenging at the sharp end of the field. And now he's going after Bishop as they go through turns 6 and 7. But now the chase begins to catch Bouvin Power's Bran van der Weyken in the 396, who is half a second up the road. Lemieux dives to the inside at turn 10 on Scott Marsh, gets through for second position. Sadursky is having to battle away with the 326 of Rafael Moreau. And that is the battle for 5th position. Tom Longnoir for G-Kart 53 on the Sodi karts. The last year's runner-up in the championship is now up 7 spots. He ended up down in 15th position, as to the inside of Lemieux dives not just Scott Marsh and Macaulay Bishop at turn 3. They both get through, take second and third respectively, away from the Canadian. Sverre Ubben in the 3:48, who in his last qualifying heat yesterday found the chain come off the sprocket, has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 56.814. Biggest mover at the moment, representing India and the Mumbai Falcons in some respects, but also with KR Sport. As there we go. Bishop to the inside of Marsh. Gets through at turn number 10. So change for second position. This is allowing, in some small shade of respect, that Brand van der Weken is able to pull away. Lars Lambers being chased down by Tom Langlois, as Max Sadursky has dropped to 7th position. Lemieux closing in on Scott Marsh himself, trying to dive to the inside at turn 3 to retake 3rd position. The 303 gets through. Lars Lambers gets a black and white warning flag from race control on this instance. But the man in second position, Macaulay Bishop, finding his stride now. New fastest lap, 56.672 for the 301, based out of Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire. Sven Urban, purple in sector 1. Bishop, purple in sector 2. We're more than just over the halfway point. We've just got over 3 minutes and 10 seconds, plus an additional lap to go here in this first of 3 qualifying heats. And here comes Bishop with a big rate of speed to the inside, takes the lead. Turn 1, lap number 5. And really, Brand van der Weken had no answer, but he tries to dive up the inside at turn 3. Antoine Lemieux on the Belgian. Scott Marsh tries to get through on Lemieux at turn 3. The Canadian able to put a defensive block on that one, as Sven Urban is absolutely flying. The man from GKS Lemons Power, who's now up 5 places, 1 spot away from the top 10, has just been in a 56.524. Other drivers that have made quite a few moves up the order: Arav Diwan, mechanic by Jacob Dukes, up 10 spots. Krik Knoren, the 377 from the Netherlands, up from 23rd, now runs 13th. But lap 5 in the books. Van der Weken staying in the wheel tracks of Bishop as they go full throttle at over 100 kilometres an hour through turn number 1 into turn 2. And look at the train starting to form, and to the outside. Oh, Scott Marsh from absolutely way back when. He threw it to the outside of turn 3, and Antoine Lemieux could not do anything about it. But Scott Marsh carried a bit too much speed and caught the right rear wheel in the dirt coming through out of turn 5. Could have nearly have lost the back end. But Scott Marsh managing to keep a hold of that 3rd place. Langlois is now in this battle. He's made up 10 spots as the man from France, through into turn 11. Bishop carries the speed wide through 11 to light it up nicely for turns 12 and 13. 3 laps to go in this race. And now Langlois is ahead of Lambers, who is keeping with him. It's been a bit of a difficult first race also for Boris Maximov, the 358 from the Netherlands. He's dropped all the way to 24th. So started on the outside of row 6. But now the freight train is a-coming here in Senior Rotax qualifying heat number 1. Bishop is away by about 5.5 tenths of a second. Make that nearly 7 tenths, as here comes an opportunity for Tom Langlois to get through on Canada's Antoine Lemieux for position. And Langlois tries to get the over-under through at turn number 12. Lemieux is wise to it. And here comes Raphael Moureau through into turn number 3. Oh dear, 393 has just had a big old off-track. And that is not going to bode well for Raymond van Beek. Boris Maximov is now out of the race as we hit 0 on the timer. It could be a very fast and frantic final lap here, as we're on lap 8 out of 9. But at the moment, things are very much set, nearly in stone here in the top 3. Scott Marsh trying to get through on Bran van der Weyken as Macaulay Bishop is 1.2 seconds up the road. Through into the final corner. Final lap underway. And well, that was a very aggressive manoeuvre by Bran van der Weyken to keep Scott Marsh at bay. But Marsh is one that you have to be very, very careful of. If you give him an opportunity, he is going to take complete advantage of the situation. And now Bishop is 2.2 seconds up the road. Battle for P2. Oh, Marsh nearly showed his nose and dived up the inside at turn 7 on Bran van der Weyken. Now this is going to give an opportunity to drivers like Lars Lambers. Sverre Urban is there. Matthias Jellerup is a little bit further back. But it has been the best start to day 2 because Macaulay Bishop is making his way down the hill for the final time. And lap 9 will be in the books. It will be a win. Macaulay Bishop wins. Second, it is going to be Bran van der Weyken. Scott Marsh rounding out your top 3. Antoine Lemieux, Tom Langlois, Raphael Mahot, Lars Lambers, Max Siderski, Sverre Urban, and Matthias Jellerup round out your top 10. Lado Kuhenitse, Connor Large, Vic van Kampenhout, Kenneth van Mokerke, and Krik Knoren round out the top 15. Boris Verhaag, Aaron Devan making up 10 spots to finish in 17th. Head of Priam Lelang, Callum Sims, Louis Oliver Gunther running out the top 20, having started from the dummy grid. Koen Willems, Jarl de Risgaard, Augustin Boulet, Bastien Misniel, Raymer van Beek being the last of the classified finishers. The 393 managed to get going again. And unfortunately, we lost Boaz Maximov and Ryan Bourguignon. Unfortunately, Tino Potier, a non-starter in that frantic first heat for Senior Rotax. So let's just recap the highlights from the opening Senior Rotax heats of the day here on day 2. Macaulay Bishop trying to go to the outside of Bran van der Weyken, but Antoine Lemieux, his teammate in the 303, the Canadian managed to slingshot through, but some drivers were making up significant progress, including Scott Marsh, who managed to get through on the Canadian not long after, through at turn 1 for second position. And then it would be a case at the front end of the field of having a bit more Senior Rotax musical chairs, so to speak, as Lemieux would get back through on Marsh, as Bran van der Weyken would try and get away into the distance. But with the heavy braking zone, it was down to a certain driver by the name of Macaulay Bishop, who would get through on Lemieux at turn 3, after Marsh had also made the move. And then it was a case of Macaulay Bishop wanting to get to the front early. Got through on Bran van der Weyken at turn 1. And then for him, the race just carried on to his advantage, so to speak, because you then had van der Weyken, Marsh and Lemieux battling over the scraps on the dinner table, which is effectively for second position. Fastest lap of the race, however, Sverre Urban would be a 56.524, and then of course Scott Marsh running a little bit wide into turn 3. Bran van der Weyken got through, retook second, and then Scott Marsh went to go towards the outside to try and pull along to the sidewalls of Bran van der Weyken, who aggressively countered the move, but Macaulay Bishop winning by nearly 3.5 seconds. the biggest winning margin, I think, effectively, of the weekend so far, with Van der Weyken, Marsh, Lemieux, Langlois rounding out the top 5 once the race had been completed after 9 laps here at Austricourt. So we now go from senior Rotax to our youngest drivers on the grid, as Mini and Mini Rookie will be up next for their pre-final. It's only in the final where you score the points. And as I say that, we have a little sun trying to beam its way through the clouds off of the final corner here at Austricourt. Still a significant breeze in the air, as you can see the banners flapping in the background for those watching at home on the BNL Karting Series YouTube channel. So, time to get underway with our first pre-final on day 2. It's Mini and Mini Rookie. Let's take you through the starting grid. Josh Cook, once again, will start from pole position. He'll have Dayan Habits alongside on the front row. August Liquibo-Lingzo and Maria Roberto round out row 2. Row 3, from the UK, Austin Aman, and from Denmark, Malte Holm. Albie J. Stubbs from the UAE, and Arthur Bowers line up next, with Zane Stafoglu joined by Charlie Page on the following row. Ryan Townsend and Teddy Murphy, followed by Arlo Gamble and Raphael Hardouin on row 7. Lenny Barton and Julian Janssen, row 8. Gabriel Wallet and Tristan Abeels, row 9, with Mila de Gaussmaker and Henry Moyot rounding out your top 20. Completing the grid will be Jayan Prakash, Maxime Ball, Kan Aras Akgun, Omer Mazudieli, Chloe Malin Sorensen, and Evert van Middendorp rounding out the 26-strong grid. So the drivers now getting into their 2x2 side-by-side rolling start formation as they approach turn number 10 at the top far right-hand corner of the circuit here at Austricourt. First time since the championship has visited this circuit in 2023. Yesterday's pre-final was won by Austin Aman, with Joshua Cook and Dayan Habits running at the top three. Zain Safoglu won the pre-final for Mini Rookie ahead of Lenny Barton and Jayan Prakash. But now, with day two being a bit of a reset for the drivers, it is going to be the case of how do the next 10 minutes plus an additional lap go. On we go. Revs up, lights on. And the pre-final is not underway. Oh, we've got a Sam Pollock racing kart in trouble, slowing on the start-finish straight. So full start has been called for the first time this weekend. And it is the 196. Oh dear, LBJ Stubbs comes to a grinding halt. So the youngster from the UAE running, well, he's got the XL Motorsport colours on his race suit. Good to have LBJ coming over to France to compete with us here at the BNL. So it is a case of a control out and delete and a reset. So an extra formation lap has been given. So we've reset the lights on the gantry. They are set to red as the field mail makes its way down through into the left-hander here at turn number 12. And then through into turn number 15. So LBJ Stubbs will not take part in this race from the inside of row number 4. And it's very, very close between Josh Cook and Dayan Habits. Revs up, lights on. Do we go green for the second time of asking? Yes, we do. Dayan Habits gets the run on Josh Cook on the start and takes the lead. But then there's further dramas as the 175 has lost a little bit of momentum. So Josh Cook no longer in the top 5. Oh dear, Austin Aman has moved up 2 spots already. He's up to P3. Maria Roberto in 4th. Looks like Josh Cook is, has recovered slightly and is now into P5. But it's a 1-2 for Dams Racing. Dayan Habits leads August Lickabellingzo. Austin Aman in P3. But it could be, well, Roberto, she was looking up the inside of Aman at turn 8, but was not able to pull off the move, basically, I think just to a lack of space. And now the games start in earnest. Down into the left-hander at turn 11. The top 5 are line astern in each other's wheel tracks. So Habits will come out of the final corner, lead us on to lap 2. Cook at the back end of the train. 6th is Charlie Page. Austin Aman to the inside. Oh, a slight scrub of sidewalls with August Lickabellingzo. Here comes Josh Cook to the inside of Maria Roberto into turn 3. Austin Aman, wheel to wheel and a turn 3 with August Lickabellingzo. The Dane will have the inside line. Oh, that was a bit of a hairy moment, not just for Austin Aman, but Josh Cook got caught out, nearly got caught napping by Charlie Page. And Zain Safoglu has just died to the inside. There goes Aman for second place on Lickabellingzo. Gets through before the chicane at turn 8. And now change for second again. Austin Aman loses the position to August Lickabellingzo, but he's going to hang it round the outside at turn number 11. That opens the door for Josh Cook to try and get through, but he can't make it. He can't make it work on this particular occasion. You try and tell a driver, okay, do the mechanics will be saying, do what I say, not do what I do. And now it's a 3-kart brawl for second position. Lingso, Oman finds a gap. Through goes Cook. Will it be 3 for the price of 1 for Lingso? Oh, a little bit of a touch between him and Maria Roberto heading into turn 4. And Zane Sofoglu, the leading mini rookie in the number 54, running in the customary bright blue colours of Borusan Automotive that run in the GT4 European Series, was all waiting just to see if he could make it through. But in the meantime, after the first 3 minutes have elapsed, Dayan Habits is away and clear by 1.1 seconds. With Austin Aman, Josh Cook, they round out your top 3. Roberto, and then Morgan Slickybo Lingso round out the top 5. Zane Sofoglu just behind Charlie Page in the 114. But Sofoglu's got company. Arthur Bowers in the 99 is not that far behind, and he's trying to get through. Josh Cook, new fastest lap. 1 minute 1.549 by the 175, who is hot on the heels of Austin Aman, as they will now come out of turn 5 at full breakneck speed into the double left at 6 and 7. But they are together, closing the gap to Dayan Habits, which after sector number 2 came down to 7/10 of a second. Oman quickest overall in the opening sector. Zane Sofoglu, the youngster from Turkey in the number 54, has just set the fastest overall sector 2 of the race. But not by much, 4 1,000ths quicker than the person in front of him, Charlie Page. Gap now 6/10 between Oman in P2 and Habits, who's leading the way. Charlie Page, new fastest lap of the race at 1 minute, 0.996. And here goes Cook to the inside of Oman, and that is gone and done by the 175 from KR Sports. Nearly at the halfway point of this race, and now the chase can begin in earnest. Remember, yesterday Austin Aman won the pre-final, but it was at the final where it counted the most, and the 175 of Josh Cook took the win. So we have lost not just Albie J. Stubbs, but the run of bad luck for the 105 from the Netherlands. Julian Janssen is also out of the race. Here comes the 114, Charlie Page, right behind August Licabel Lingso. That's the battle for P5 on the road. And now Cook has closed that gap to the inside. He dives on Dayan Habits while setting the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute 0.944. Cook unable to get the job done on the 131 from Dams Racing, and that has brought back in Austin Aman. Charlie Page has got through on August Licabel Lingso, the 114 from the United Kingdom, now up 4 spots. Biggest move of the race so far, Tristan Abeels in the 109 from Belgium, up 7 places, now runs 11th. And at the moment, it might be, in the words of a karting game of chess, there might be a little bit of a stalemate at the moment. But we still have just over 3 minutes and 40 to go, plus an additional lap. And Joshua Cook and Austin Aman are pressurising Dayan Habits. Cook to the inside at turn 3. And Habits just carries a little bit more speed through that tight right-hand hairpin. Cook slots in front of Aman through turn 4. Holds on to that second position. And the sunshine and the blue sky has now emerged after a lengthy wait here at Austricourt. So that will help a bit more warmth permeate its way onto the tarmac surface, give the drivers maybe a little bit of added traction in general. as the circuit will evolve over the days running. And still, Josh Cook has not yet got an answer for Day and Habits in the meantime. But going into turn 1, Cook nearly had the opportunity to get through on Habits. Held back, but now through into turn 3 again we go. Now he has made the move complete. Day and Habits has now dropped down to 3rd. And Maria Roberto has just come through and closed in on the top 3. So she is very much in the mix for this one. Two minutes plus an additional lap remain in this last pre-final for Mini and Mini Rookie. So at the moment, the top 3 in the respective classes. Josh Cook leads the way overall, ahead of Austin Oman and Day and Habits, who rounds out your top 3, closely followed by Maria Roberto. Zane Sofoglu and Arthur Bowers are running 6th and 7th respectively, and are the top 2 Mini Rookie drivers at the moment. Bowers just drops to 8th as he's lost the position to Charlie Page. And yesterday's winner in the final in Mini Rookie, the defending Mini Rookie champion, Arlo Gamble, who currently sits in 13th position, now holds on to 3rd place in the class. Now Josh Cook has got a bit more distance between himself and Austin Oman, who is being absolutely hounded by Day and Habits and Maria Roberto. So next time around we'll have 2 more laps remaining, as we are on lap 9 out of a scheduled 11 laps of this 1,450 metre 13 turn clockwise circuit. Nearly a misstep there through turn 12 by Day and Habits. 2 laps to go. 2.9 kilometres remaining on the counter. Josh Cook now has a lead of nearly 0.6 of a second, ahead of Austin Oman. Day and Habits holding on to P3 for the moment, but for how much longer might that happen? He's going to dive to the inside of Austin Oman at turn 3. Oman with the switchback gets back through for second. And Josh Cook now is 0.8 of a second up the road. 24 of the 26 starters are still circulating. As Roberto nearly stuck her nose up the inside of Day and Habits, going through into turn number 8. As the 152 sideways in the air whilst hitting the curb through the chicane, manages to land the kart on all 4 contact patches on terra firma. But this time it will be the last lap board being out, and there's going to be a lot of frantic activity in the battle for second position, because Josh Cook leads us on to the final lap by a second. Oman, Habits, Roberto, Likibolingzo, Page, Sofoglu, Bowers, Holm and Abils round out your top 10. And to the outside, Day and Habits. Can he get through at turn 3? It was a little bit of a lengthy wait, but he managed to make the move stick. But that has now put Josh Cook 1.3 seconds up the road. So very shortly they'll be making their way through into the chicane for the final time. And it is daylight that is plentiful behind Josh Cook. Oman might have 1 or 2 more chances. He's going to dive to the inside at turn 10 on Day and Habits. Gets through, and that's allowed Maria Roberto to get up into 3rd position. Meantime, down the hill for the final time. He was 2nd in the pre-final yesterday. He's going to win the pre-final today. Great work by Josh Cook to take the victory. Austin Oman and Maria Roberto round out your top 3. Day and Habits, August Likibolingso, Charlie Page round out your top 6. Zane Sofoglu on the road wins in Mini Rookie in 7th position, ahead of Arthur Bowers. Malte Holm and Tristan Abils complete your top 10, with Arlo Gamble in 11th, rounding out the top 3 in the Mini Rookie division. Lenny Barton, Ryan Townsend, Teddy Murphy, Rafael Hadouin, Maxime Ball, Henry Mayat, Jayan Prakash, Milo Takausmaker, and Omer Mezudieli round out your top 20. Chloe Malling Sorensen Kaz Adas Akun and Evert van Middeldorp with Gabriel Wallet rounding out the 24 finishers. And unfortunately, on lap 1, we lost Julian Janssen. And on the first attempt at a start, we lost the UAE's Albi J. Stubbs. Well, the Mini and Mini Rookie division do not... Well, they do always provide exciting racing here in Rotax competition. But at the beginning of the race, it looked like Day and Habits got the march on Josh Cook going into turn 1, with August Lickibel-Lingzo and Riley Morrow moving up. But Josh Cook lost a little bit of pace. Not too sure how that might have happened, but managed to start clawing his way back. August Lickibel-Lingzo managing to get round the outside of Austin Aman, who had Maria Roberto right on his exhaust. And then Josh Cook would start slowly but surely making respective moves to try and move back up towards the sharp end of the field. Austin Aman and August Lickibel-Lingzo at times were side by side, wheel to wheel, especially going through turn 4. And there was a moment where Austin Aman went a little bit wide. Maria Roberto did have a bit of a hop, skip and a jump moment coming out of turn 4 and into 5 herself, because there's a little bit of a divot on the outside of the entrance into the corner, the fast left-hander. Austin Aman would get through at turn 8 on August Lickibel-Lingzo, whilst Day and Habits was trying to run away with things. But Aman still kept himself very much with the youngster from Denmark. But then Josh Cook would make his intent known by going through on the 121 from Sam Pollock Racing into turn 11. And then August Lickibel-Lingzo nearly lost 3 places in one respective corner, because Oman went through, Cook went through, and then Roberto tried in her own right to get through as well. Josh Cook would eventually catch and then pass Day and Habits at turn 3, but it was after a couple of attempts that it did work. The first attempt didn't go quite to plan, but then the next one would work in his favour, because he just waited, parked the kart on the inside. But even the second attempt for Josh Cook didn't go quite to plan, because Austin Aman was right behind him. So there was a lot of musical chairs happening at the front end of the field, but it was very, very close. And it's sometimes, you could say, a little bit close for comfort. And despite the fact that Josh Cook got through, Austin Aman and Maria Roberto were doing their best to try and get through on the youngster from Denmark, which did inevitably happen with a handful of laps remaining. But it would be the case that Josh Cook would start running away, because the 3 behind started battling, and that allowed for the gap for the 175 from KR Sport to be extended over the course of the duration of the race itself. So that concludes the first 3 races of the day so far, and we have a little bit of a breather between now and our next race, which will be So effectively, we're going to be back just before 20 past 1 here on the BNL Karting Series YouTube channel. Here, and a big thank you once again to our friends at WFR Live TV as we continue our live coverage of Day 2 of the opening round of the 2026 BNL Karting Series season.
Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are. this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best, challenging yourself over and over again? Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
So, after a brief pause, we are back for our next bunch of races. So, we've got another 2 qualifying heats coming up. We turn attention again back to the junior Rotax division here for qualifying heat 2, groups A and C. So, the results have now been confirmed for qualifying heat 1. Kian Bernard winning just ahead of Jensen Chalk by 82 thousandths of a second, with the top 3 completed by Switzerland's Luan Seidel, covered by just over 0.16 of a second. Lieke van Berkel and Albert Friend rounded out the top 5. Some drivers did get some penalties, 4 of the penalties were front bumper. Front bumpers not being in the right position, so Alfie Ward, Max Bogsal, Loris Perron-Mousset and Didi Dadala all got a 5-second time penalty post-race, but Loris Perron-Mousset also got a 10-second additional post-race penalty for causing a collision during the race. And just trying to... Yep, so that was basically for an incident, an avoidable collision with Didi Dadala during the race. Meant that Loris Perron-Mousset did take a penalty, a total of 15 seconds added to the French driver's race time in total, which demoted the 211 from SF Automatech down to 18th once the results had been adjusted accordingly. So as we had earlier on, we will now have our second heat. So it will be Group C that will have completed their qualifying heats after this one. And then we'll have to wait to see which of the, who will be who will be the 37th place kart. Yesterday it was Matthias Verreken that did not make it through, but Verreken has had a better start to today's proceedings. We are not that far away from getting going with our second of 3 qualifying heats. After this, we'll have Heat 2, A versus C for senior, and then the DD2 Masters pre-final, before we then have the last 2 qualifying heats for junior and senior respectively. Groups A versus B, which will be qualifying Heat 3 for both classes, and then we will have a little breather before the finals. And after that has happened, we will then find out who will be our championship leaders in the respective classes, leaving here at Racing Kart JPR. And then we will head to Karting d'Espagne on the 17th to the 19th of April for the second round of the series. So, engines are started. Drivers making their way out onto the circuit here at Austricourt. Let's take you through the starting grid. So for qualifying heats A versus C, it's Dan Holland Racing's Harry Taylor that starts on pole position. Finn Albert Jorgensen will line alongside on the front row. Lucian Smith and Louis Radcliffe round out row 2 with Leo Hardouin and Jensen Chalk on row 3. Finley Lines and Trent Van Malik, row 4 with Sebastian Clark and Sam Kohler rounding out the top 10. Yanis Corrage and Albert Friend round out row 6. Ludwig Hansen, Alfie Ward, row 7. Roslan Straya from Algeria and Riley Morrow from the UK rounding out row 8. Jensen Walker and Matthias Verreken round out row 9. Completing the top 20, CRG Belgium's Bruce Ramboa and LeHouk Racing Team's Augustin Hanik, Justin Fonk, Tobias Johns, Leon Herbos, Yilan Vandenberger and Ozhan Alpaslan round out the 25 runners in this 7-minute plus an additional lap heat. So there is your starting grid. 25 competitors. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, watching on the official live stream on YouTube, we now have clear blue skies and sunshine. So with 6.25 minutes left to go plus an additional lap. A great start by Harry Taylor, who is starting to move away into the distance. Finn Albert Jorgensen is the Danish cork in the wine bottle, so to speak, in second position. Good to see Yori Schoens in the YouTube chat as well. But the gap is 6/10 as here goes Finley Lines up the inside through on Jensen Chalk. And then Louis Radcliffe in the 227. Not too far behind. Great move to the inside from Radcliffe. And he gets through on Jensen Chalk, who has right behind him Sebastian Clark. Alfie Ward, in the meantime, has just put in the fastest opening sector of the race so far. And he's done it again in Sector 2. So Alfie Ward, who's currently sitting in 14th, as to the inside of Finn Albert Jorgensen. Late dive and then some by Sebastian Clark into turn 10. Gets through on his KR Sport teammate. So 2 minutes in the bag, 5 minutes plus an additional lap to go. And Harry Taylor is losing a slight, small modicum of that race lead. Close to about 1 1/4 tenths of a second. Finley Lines is quicker than the two in front, and he's also nearly half a second quicker than Louis Radcliffe, who's nearly 8 tenths of a second behind. And here we go. Lines closing in on Lucian Smith. That is for second position on the road. And on that particular occasion, Finley Lines nearly had the move done, but had to back out of it at the last moment possible. Smith goes defensive into turn 11. Lines waiting for his opportunity to strike as they come out of turn number 13. Lap 3 completed. Finn Albert Jorgensen now has picked up his heels and started running. New fastest lap by the youngster from Denmark in the 2.65. 57.874 to the inside for the race lead. And Smith and Lines get through on Taylor. So a good bit of teamwork there between the two KR Sport drivers. But Taylor is going to stick with them. And Lines to the inside. Oh, that's a bit close. A run wide by Lucian Smith. Two wheels on the dirt. And through from absolutely nowhere. Louis Radcliffe from Sam Pollitt Racing. Centre Perler up the inside at turn 11. The left-hander going down the hill, and he's now second. And now, Louis Radcliffe, who started on the outside of row number 2. He's dived to the inside of Finley Lines at 3, and he's got through for the race lead. Meantime, there's a little bit of argy-bargy happening behind as Finn Albert Jorgensen now through on Jensen Chalk. Here goes Finley Lines through at turn 6. And he really takes the lead, makes the move complete by turn 7. It's a fast double left-hander. Oh no, someone's got off the circuit. And that is Harry Taylor. Harry Taylor was off the circuit at turn 7. And the 253 is an indented left side pod. Disaster for the Dan Holland Racing driver. So whether there was a little bit of a coming together, and Taylor has tumbled. And Albert Friend also didn't have a great run in this race so far, but Finley Lines, Louis Radcliffe, the battle lines have been drawn between KR Sport and Sam Pollitt Racing. Finn Albert Jorgensen holding on to third at the moment. And Sebastian Clark is pressurising Jensen Chalk as we speak. Alfie Ward has made up 8 places and is currently P6. Jensen Walker, Bruce Rambauer, Augustin Hanik, they've all made up 7 spots apiece. They run 10th, 12th and 13th respectively. And unfortunately for Riley Morrow, the day has not gone well at all for the 222 from Sam Pollitt Racing. Just under a minute to go, and Finley Lines now has a lead of over 2.5 tenths of a second on Louis Radcliffe, who's really closed in on the slipstream as they head into turn numbers 4 and 5. So we are going to be very, very close on time once again, as we've got 30 seconds to go. An aggressive bump over the curves through turn 9 at the chicane by Finley Lines, using the left front wheel to try and help counter steer the kart if the back end steps out to the right hand side whilst it's slightly airborne. So 2 laps remain, and the gap is still around about just over 2 and a bit tenths of a second. And now Radcliffe to the lead, up the inside at turn 3, runs a little bit deep. Alfie Ward, new fastest lap, 57.737 by the 283. But as the timer hits 0, next time will be the final lap. Finley Lines, the 281 from KR Sport, still holds on to the race lead. But again, Radcliffe trying to find space here or there to show his nose to Finley Lines, as if to say, right, I'm not going to make this easy for you. And that's going to bring in Finn Albert Jorgensen. One more lap to go. Radcliffe putting the pressure on the shoulders of Lines, who covers him off. And Radcliffe to the outside. And Radcliffe is going to get the slipstream. Here comes Jorgensen. They both get through on Lines, or do they? No, they don't. But this time, Jorgensen is going to go wheel to wheel through 4. Lines has got an absolute cavalcade of karts behind him, including Sebastian Clark, including Jensen Chalk. And it's now musical chairs as we head through turn 8 for the final time. Through into the chicane. Radcliffe still leads from Lines, Jorgensen. And there's Alfie Ward. He's got through on Chalk, he's got through on Clark. And Lines goes defensive on Jorgensen. Down the hill we go. It's given a little bit of breathing space because Louis Radcliffe from the outside of row number 2 takes the win in qualifying heat 2 in Junior Rotax by nearly 0.8 of a second. Finn Albert Jorgensen rounds out your top 3 with Alfie Ward, Sebastian Clark completing the top 5. Jensen Chalk 6th, ahead of Lucien Smith, Leo Hardouin, Jensen Walker, and Trent Van Malik rounding out your top 10. Bruce Rambert, Albert Friend, Matthias Verreken, Yanis Courage, Roslan Straya, Sam Kohler. Then we've got Leon Herbos, Ludwig Hansson, Augustin Hanik, and Justin Fonk rounding out your top 20. Tobias Johns, Harry Taylor, Yilan Vandenberger, and Ozhan Alpaslan round out the 24 runners that made it to the end of the race. And unfortunately on the opening lap, Riley Morrow, his race was done and dusted early.
Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
Okay, so we return back trackside here at BNL Karting Series Round 1 of 2026. So we now head to the second of our 3 qualifying heats. Results have been confirmed for qualifying Heat 1B versus C. In your top 3 was Macaulay Bishop, Bran van der Weken and Scott Marsh. Macaulay Bishop winning by the longest margin so far this weekend, 3.4 seconds when it came to the qualifying heats. There were a couple of penalties that were issued, one to Connor Large and one to Callum Sims, both for front bumper out of position. Along with that, we are just awaiting some results to be confirmed for the Mini Max and Mini Ricky Pre-Final, along with the and we've not yet had the DD2 and the DD2 Masters Pre-Final yet, which will take place after this second batch of heats. So, time to take you through the starting grid for Senior Rotax. Qualifying Heat 2, A versus C. Vince van der Halle starts on pole position. Macaulay Bishop alongside on the front row. Charlie King and Max Sidursky, row 2. Harry Freeman and Boris van Haag. On row 3, Ryan Gandor, Matthias Jederup, Arnold Sabaha and Lado Koenite ran at your top 10. Thomas Verheyen and Boris Maximal start on row 6, ahead of Tino Sidler and Kenneth van Kerker. Danny Shields and Sverre Ubben ran out row 8. Victor Galmiche and Louis Oliver Gunter ran at row 9. Antoine Tajon and Connor Large ran out the top 20. Thijs van Wijk and Augustin Boulet ran out row 11. Luca de Moytru and Raymer van Beek, row 12. Rein van der Meer, Priam Lelang, Liam van Hecke and Tino Potier are scheduled to be the last of our runners in this one. Tino Potier has not taken part in qualifying and may not take part in this second heat. So once again, it will be 7 minutes plus an additional lap. Tino Potier looks like once again the French driver will be a non-starter on this particular occasion. So Tino Potier will not take part in this race, I'm afraid. So Van der Hallen and Bishop will lead the field into the tram lines. We will go revs up. We will go lights to green. And Van der Hallen leads the way into turn number 1. Charlie King looks to have followed behind the 372 from Bouvin Power. Bishop is in 3rd place. Sidursky, and then there's also an attempt there from Boris Verhaag to try and get through at turn 3. However, the 302 from Belgium still holds station at the moment. So they've headed into turn 8 for the first time. A very, very long line of karts, but there seems to have been a slight drama for both Victor Galamiche and Louis Oliver Gunther, who have lost a couple of seconds in the middle sector. But now things are closing in at the front end of the field. So, Vince van der Halle leads the way after the opening tour. But here goes Charlie King to the inside. He took the lead for the briefest of moments, but Vince van der Halle managed to get back through, retake the lead. However, Bishop, Sidursky, Verhaag, they are closing in through into turn 8. Charlie King runs it. Oh, no, Vince van der Halle. Now, did he just hit the white line? Coming out of turn number 7, going into turn 8. Because that's very uncharacteristic. He turned it in. Oh, no, he got... Oh, I think he just might have misjudged it. And Macaulay Bishop had nowhere to go. So front bumper makes contact with the rear bumper at the 372. And van der Halle ends up around. Van der Halle halfway down the field at the moment, currently sitting in 14th position. So now Charlie King has got a lead of about 9 tenths ahead of Bishop. Sidursky closing in on the defending champion from last year. Gap between them last time round after 2 laps was just under a tenth and a half. So we're nearly at the halfway point of this race. And at the moment, biggest mover at the meantime, Sverre Ubben up 7 places from 16th on the grid. Make that 8 places. He's just got through on Georgia's Lado Kuanice for position. Macaulay Bishop sets the new fastest lap of the race, 56.848. He's trying to close that gap. It has come down. Bishop was nearly a tenth quicker in the opening sector in comparison with King, who leads. Max Sidursky quicker than the pair of them, nearly 3 tenths quicker than King. Bishop goes purple, sector 2, by a tenth. Sidursky loses time in that middle sector. And ends up over a tenth and a half slower than Macaulay Bishop. So Bishop starting to pull away from Sidursky, who's moved up to seniors. This is his rookie season in the class itself. But now Bishop has closed on in, and the gap between first and second stretches to just over 4.5 tenths of a second itself. 56.752. Last lap around by Macaulay Bishop on lap 4. New fastest lap. 2 on the bounce from the man from Hoddesdon. Sverre Ubben has got through on Matthias Jellerup and has now made up 9 spots overall. Thijs van Wijk, the winner of yesterday's final, now up 9 places from 21st on the grid, runs 12th. Rein van der Meer also has made strides forward and has moved up from 25th on the grid and is now 19th ahead of Louis Oliver Gunther. Victor Galmisch and Liam von Hecke are out, I'm afraid, meaning that Sweden's Priam Lelang is currently sitting down in 25th. Vince van der Halle is now on the comeback trail. Thijs van Wijk now up 10 spots. Biggest charger of the field so far. Up to 11th from 21st is the 369. Sverre Ubben now takes the mantle of the fastest pedaler on the circuit. 56.818 by the 348 from GKS Lemons Power. And we've had further retirements. Priam Lelang, Luca de Moitru and Connor Large are now also out of the race. Meaning we have, from what was 27 starters, not including Tino Potier, who is non-started and I don't think will carry on this weekend. We have 22 out of 27 starters still running. But Macaulay Bishop has calmly and under good composure close that gap to Charlie King. Tino Sidler, now new fastest driver out of the race so far. Bishop to the inside of King. Through into turn 3 goes the 301 from Dan Holland Racing. And on lap number 7, new race leader. Sidler with the fastest lap, 56.582. And he's just in front of KR Sport teammate Danny Shields, one of 2 Emirati registered drivers that are here. Of course, the other one is with Sam Pollitt Racing in the form of Albie J. Stubbs. It's been a difficult race for some of the drivers as well. As we go on to our penultimate lap. Bishop leads from King. Sidursky in 3rd. Top 3 covered by half a second. Borisford Haag. And now we could see a change for the race lead into turn 3. Max Sidursky finds a little bit of space as well. Goes wheel to wheel out of turn 3 briefly alongside Macaulay Bishop. Bishop has got to make a decision here. He's between a rock and a hard place. But in this kind of situation, I think most drivers might prefer the position where Max Sidursky is at the minute because he's right behind Bishop. Gap between the top 3. 0.32 of a second. Timer has hit 0. Into turn number 11 we go for the penultimate time. And it's going to be one more tour. 1,450 metres left to go. Line astern between the top 3. Final lap underway. And Sidursky to the inside. Goes through on Bishop at turn 1. That's second for the 397 from SP Motorsports. Into turn 3. Oh. Charlie King really did anticipate that well. I think he might have felt his ears burning and his shoulder having a little bit of pressure put on it because Max Sidursky dived to the inside. King reacted with cat-like reflexes. And got the job and kept the lead. So now, Harry Freeman right behind Macaulay Bishop as they will go down the hill for the final time. And Charlie King will very much be of the order of the day here in Heat 2. Out of the final corner, Charlie King wins Heat 2. Second for Sidursky, third for Bishop. And that'll basically put Macaulay Bishop on 91 points. But great run there by Charlie King. The 374 from Strawberry Racing takes the win here in Heat 2. Sidursky, Bishop, Freeman, Ubben, Gandor, Yarup, Verhaag, Kohanidze and Van Wyk round out your top 10. Tino Sidler up 2 places to finish 11th, ahead of Vince van der Halle, Danny Shields, Arnold Sabaha, Kenneth Van Kerker rounding out the top 15. Antoine Tahon, Rein van der Meer, Augustin Boulet, Thomas Verheyen and Boris Maximil rounding out the top 20. Raymer van Beek 21st, Louis Oliver Gunther rounding out the 22 finishers, with retirements in the form of Conor Large, Luca de Moitslu, Priam Lelang, Liam von Hecker and Victor Galmiche. So we now go from Senior Rotax and we head to our DD2 and DD2 Masters competitors, as the sun continues to shine here at Racing Kart JPR in Osterkord. Air temperature now 12 degrees Celsius. And following on from yesterday's final, Len Nyes took the win ahead of Jort van Wyk, with Ralph van der Pavet running out the overall top 3. Jim Ringelberg would secure his first win in the DD2 Masters classification. There we see Christoph Adams. And remember something quite topical. Known Christoph for many a year since first meeting him at when I was the series commentator for the Rotax Max Euro Trophy, which was my first European Karting Championship commentary duty back in 2018. He showed me a particular picture about every single race suit that he has still got from Team France, Team Belgium, and also Team Netherlands for every single time. And this is before he ended up doing E20 Masters last year in Bahrain, which I was quite surprised about. But I think, he said to me, I'm getting too slow. I'm getting older, Alex. And I went, well, I said, if you've got a love for the sport, it doesn't matter about speed, it's about the enjoyment factor. We're all passionate about this particular sport, and now the mechanics are clearing the grid before we go underway with our next race. So the pre-final will then decide the grid for the final. And DD2 and DD2 Masters, as per the new schedule, due to go out at 4:25 p.m. Local time. So we now get the green flag shown to our DD2 and DD2 Masters drivers. Here's your starting order. Pole position will be in the form of the 417 of Shepherd's Racing BV, Racing Service BV's very own Len Nyes. Jort van Wyk from SP Motorsport will line up on the outside of the front row. GKS Levens Powers 491. Nicola Guillaume will be joined by pole sitter in DD2 Masters, Jim Ringelberg, in the 547 on row number 2. Yannick Jacobs and Christophe Capitan will line up on row number 3. Ralph van der Pavet and Jeffrey Sell on row 4. Pepin Reitman and Theo Lemoigne on row 5. Christoph Adams, Theo Lang and Gwen Bloxheil, they round out the 13-strong grid. So it looks like Yannick Jacobs is not going to take the start. I did have a chat with his dad a little bit earlier on, and whether he, Yannick has had some issues, let's say, went over one of the bumps and probably might have had a nerve trapped in his neck or something like that. So he's decided to pull into the pit lane and not take part in the pre-final and see if he can get some form of recovery before the final a little bit later on. But it is going to be Len Nyes and Jort van Wyk that will lead us to green here in race number 1. The pre-final for DD2 and DD2 Masters. Revs up, lights on, and for 10 minutes plus an additional lap we go green. And straight away, Jim Ringleberg absolutely had the elbows out, but no. Jort van Wyk has Nicolas Guillaume over the back bumper. And it was just the overspeed that Guillaume had. I think it might have just caught him out a little bit. And yeah, like left front went on the right rear, and all of a sudden, smoke billowed from the 2 tyres. And it looks like Jort van Wyk has got a noisy exhaust on the back of that Kart Republic. Yep, that's definitely him. I think he's going to... And they've already on the digital flag put a meatball sign up there for... Well, they put a sign up there for 555, Christoph Adams. But I think with the contact between Nicolas Guillaume and Jort van Wyk is slowing, so Christoph Adams, mechanical black flag and the 555, as Len Nyes leads Jim Ringleberg, who's currently in second position. Len Nyes has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 57.584. And there is Jort van Wyk in the pit lane. There's Yannick Jacobs as well, just leaning up against the fence. But then Ralph van der Pavert is now up 4 spots into third place. He's being chased down by Le Hook Racing Team's Theo Lemoigne in the 4.35. Christophe Capitain in 5th. Riedman, Lang, Adams, who's got a mechanical, currently running in 8th place, but I think has slowed a little bit further back. He's just about to come through turn 10 now. And yep, Christoph Adams is slowing and he exits stage left on the approach to turn number 11. There's now Lemoigne and van der Pavert having a tete-a-tete battle. Oh, and it was the right rear bumper. Bolts had come adrift, and oh dear. That's why Christoph Adams had the mechanical black flag. So we have just over 7.25 minutes to go. And Theo Lemoigne has got through on Ralph van der Pavert and now can start chasing down DD2 Masters class leader Jim Ringleberg in second position overall. And great to see Ringleberg behind the wheel of a gearbox-driven kart rather than direct drive. Len Nyes in the meantime, new fastest lap of the race, 56.450 for the 417. And has competed at the grand finals himself, mainly in micro and mini in the past few years that I've known him, and his dad Anna, who's also here in person. And hits the curb, sideways in the air. Len Nyes lands it on all 4 tyres. Great kart control there by the 417. Also a familiar haunt is that team for Nicolas Guillaume, who's currently sitting in 7th place at the moment, make that 8th because he's been passed by Theo Lang. So I don't know whether the contact's caused a little bit of drama for Guillaume because his left front mounted over the right rear of Jort van Wyk, and then the bumper must have clipped the exhaust on the 433. Another new fastest lap by Len Nyes, 56.396 for the 417. So coming up quickly towards half-time in this particular encounter. Of course, for the seniors and the DD2 and DD2 Masters. Their finals a little bit later on will be 15 minutes plus an additional lap for juniors and for mini and mini rookie. 12 minutes plus an additional lap for their respective finals. As we cross the line to complete lap number 5 with just over 5 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. And the leaders will make their way down towards turn number 3. Of course, the biggest difference, along with the having to use either first or second gear, depending. Oh, and Gwen Blockstyle's now pulled into pit lane. She has had a weekend, I think, to forget, to be honest with you. So that is another driver out. We're down to 9 karts in total. But can the likes of Lemoigne and Van der Pavet close in on Len Nyes at the front end of the field? But the thing is they've got a roadblock in front of them. That man is Jim Ringelberg. So we have just over 4 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. Jacobs opting to not take the start. Jort van Wijk had a noisy exhaust through no inadvertent fault of his own. I mean, it's difficult to sometimes say that when someone runs over the back of your cart, you've got to hope and pray that the baffles in the exhaust don't get opened. Well, as I say that, Theo Lemoigne slides through at turn 8 on the inside of Jim Ringelberg, who's now got Van der Pavet closing him down. And, well, Jim Ringelberg wanting to keep out of the Max DD2 battle, so he lets and signals to Van der Pavet, right, after you, young sir, I got my own battles to fight. And with that being said, the gap, the advantage that Len Nyes has over Theo Lemoigne in the 4.35 is 2.685 seconds and rising as they go through the respective sectors here on the circuit. So 13 starters at the minute, still 9 remaining. These drivers using the Mojo D5 CIK FIA homologated tyre, along with the likes of the senior Rotax drivers. So on to lap number 9. But there's still time to play for in this one. Van der Pavet still has an opportunity to get through on Theo Lemoigne, but he's got to watch his 6 because Ringelberg is catching him again. So Jim Ringelberg, like I said, he is no slouch when you put him behind the wheel of a car. I've seen him compete in a super shifter, a KZ, and, well, not KZ, senior Rotax and other classes as well, where it has been direct drive. But Len Nyes is away and clear, and this is going to be a big margin. That is going to be 3.2 seconds. Lemoigne holding on to P2. Ralph van der Pavet still third, ahead of Jim Ringelberg, who leads the Masters decision, and he's 1.7 seconds up the road from the defending champion of the series in the class, Christophe Capitain on the EOS chassis, normally supported and assisted by RM Concept, the team run by Morgan Riche. Won one particular year, went to the Golden Trophy at Karting Genk, qualified for the Grand Finals, and then went out and won the thing, and even beat on the road his Team France colleague and former champion, Paul Louveau. But we have 2 more laps to go after this to see how the grid might potentially stack up for DD2 and DD2 Masters, the final. 10 laps in the books as we go on to lap 11 out of 12. Noise now 3.3 seconds up the way. Lemoyne P2, Van der Pavat third. Ringelberg fourth and leading Masters. Christophe Capita is running out of time to close down on the Flying Dutchman in the 547, who rounds out fourth position overall and is his chief rival, it looks like, if Jim Ringelberg does the full campaign. Don't forget, he followed in the footsteps of 4 successive titles from Christoph Adams from 2011 to 2014, and Ringelberg came in 2015 and then took the title that year. Timer has hit 0. And now we are coming down to the final few moments. Len Nyes will bring us on to what will be the 12th and final lap. Here comes the 417 out of the final corner. Across the line he goes. And a calm Ben Barnacote-esque look over his right shoulder, because he's 3.5 seconds up the road. He doesn't need to worry. He just needs to bring it over the line and get the job done. Sometimes it is simple enough to do so. You never know what might come your way. There is always that air of unpredictability when it comes to karting, but Len Nyes is not taking any chances, leaving no stone unturned as he heads into turn 8 for the final time. His lead is now nearly bang on 3.5 seconds, but it's just a masterful display. Through over towards turn 10 for the final time goes the race leader. Jim Ringelberg is closing on Ralph van der Pavat, who is currently P3, but it's down the hill for the final time. And from lights out to checkered flag, Len Nyes wins the pre-final in the 417. P2, Theo Lemoyne. Ralph van der Pavat rounds out the top 3, and it's another one to add to the win streak for Jim Ringelberg in 4th position. Nicolas Guillaume recovers to finish in 5th, ahead of Christophe Capitin, with Theo Lang, Jeffrey Salon and Pepin Reitman rounding out your your 9 finishes in that one. 10th, Gwen Blockstill, who finished on what would have been lap 4. Christoph Adams having a mechanical black flag for a right side, the flailing right side of the rear bumper. Jort van Wyk out after contact with Nicolas Guillaume coming out of turn 1. And his exhaust made more noise than is actually allowed. He had to park it, and Yannick Jacobs opted, due to some issue concerns with his health at the moment whilst being here, just to play it safe and not take the start. However, Len Nyes and Jim Ringelberg are your winners in DD2 and DD2 Masters in the pre-final. Well, we have got a little bit of a wait until our last 2 qualifying heats. Our next one will be Heat 3. Junior Rotax qualifying heat for Groups A versus B, and then before the finals we will have Senior Rotax qualifying heat 3A versus B. Here at Austricourt as our coverage continues, here for Day 2, Round 1 of BNL Karting Series 2026.
Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are. Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are. Why do you come here? Is this your career?
Or is it all about fun? A chance to get away and leave it all behind?
Or do you chase your personal best? Challenging yourself over and over again. Why do you come here?
Maybe you're here to collect moments. Good ones. And not so good ones.
Or you can't afford mistakes because you want that victory. It's all about this one moment when the hard work finally pays off.
This is the place that brings us closer to the people who share our story. Whoever we are,
Whatever we're here for, racing is who we are.
So, with 6 races completed, we have another 6 to go before we conclude the opening weekend of the 2026 BNL Karting Series season. The green flag waves at the end of the dummy grid, and it's time to get under starters' orders for our next race. It is qualifying Heat 3. Junior Rotax Groups A and B will be in action for this one. And the starting grid will be as follows. Harry Taylor and Lieke van Berkel will be on the front row of the grid, with Harry Taylor on the inside of the front row on pole position. After that, Lucien Smith and Varis Pascu will be on row 2. Leo Hardouin and Luan Seidel will round out row 3. Finley Lines and Jensen Moonen on row 4, with Sebastian Clark and Kian Bernard on row 5. Yanis Courage, Julian Dimmer, Ludwig Hansson, Max Bogsal, Rosalind Stryer and Didi Dadala. They round out, the last 2 drivers round out row 8. Then it will be the case of having Jensen Walker, Loris Perron-Mousset, Bruce Ramboa, and also Nathan Lecure rounding out the top 20. Justin Fonk, Dion Baraka, Leon Herbos, Lionel Munguia, and Ozhan Alpaslan from Turkey round out your grid. 25 drivers, 12 and a half rows of competitors, and we are going into battle for what will be 7 minutes plus an additional lap. And after this race, it will be the case of the following. But the top 36 drivers will make it through. One driver, their weekend, will come to an early end at that point, because we can only host a maximum of 36 drivers on a full capacity grid. Yesterday, Matthias van Aken was the unfortunate soul that would not take to the final. So the red lights are on the starting gantry here for the final qualifying heat for Junior Rotax. And it is going to be the pair of Taylor and Van Berkel on the front row of the grid. They will lead us to lights out. Revs up, lights on. And we go green for heat 3. Taylor gets the good start. Van Berkel trying to hold on to position in second. And then it's the 2-3-5 of Rades Pascu, the youngster from Switzerland, in P3. But to the outside, that's brave. Luan Seidel trying to go around the outside. And also having an off-track excursion was the 2-9-6 of Denmark's Ludvig Hansson. So at this moment, it is the case that Harry Taylor is pulling away ever so slightly from Lieke van Berkel. And there is the 2-1-5, I think I just saw just a second ago, or 2-3-5. Rades Pascu being closed in on by, looks like Jenthe Moonen has moved up to the order. Oh, the 210 on the Haas chassis is up to P4. Bernard goes round the outside of Finney Lines at turn 12. Lap 1 in the books. Van Berkel closing in on Taylor. The gap is just over 0.18 of a second. As they head down into turn 3, Van Berkel nearly showed her nose to Taylor, but then had to think twice about it because Pascu was right in her wheel tracks. Lucian Smith now through on Jenthe Moonen for P4. Bernard up 4 spots already, and he is currently sitting in P6. Out of turn 8 go the leaders. And then Lucian Smith is the one that is now the proverbial cork in the bottle. So Bruce Ramboa looks to have dropped a few places in the meantime. Lionel Munguia, it's been a tough race. Weekend for the 209 for Radeka Kart Racing Team. 209 from the Netherlands. Van Berkel has got Pascu right on her rear bumper. Through into the double left at 6 and 7. 4.5 minutes to go. Plus an additional lap of this final and third qualifying heat for Junior Rotax. Gap is 0.3 after Sector 2 when Harry Taylor broke the timing beam first. But now Van Berkel is the SP Motorsport meet in a Dan Holland Racing sandwich at the moment. They run first and third. Lucian Smith is the highest placed of the KR Sport drivers in fourth position. Cian Bernard now P5. Finley Lines 6. Yenthi Moon and Lewin Seidel, Sebastian Clark and Leo Hardouin round out your top 10. New fastest lap of the race by Finley Lines in the 281. 58.561. Roslan Slayer, who's up 4 places, is the Algerian, running with Arthur Lehouk's team, who's now stepped away from the world of sim racing. I actually spoke to him earlier on this weekend. He said, I sold my sim rig and I'm way too busy with the karting team, and plus also looking into maybe doing engine tuning of some description. But going into turn 11, here on lap 4, Lieke van Berkel is holding station, defending her racing line. So this is going to get very, very close indeed, as Pascu to the inside, and it becomes now at turn 3, lap number 5, a Dan Holland Racing 1-2. Pascu makes the move on Van Berkel. And the 211 of Loris Perron-Mousset up another spot ahead of DD2. As, Yenthi Moon has dropped a few places now. Was running P7 behind Finley Lines and now drops to the bottom of the top 10. We are now at the highest temperature we've had all weekend long, 14 degrees centigrade. Here in the eastern part of France, 25 minutes outside of Lille Airport. And Van Berkel sticking with Pascu, but keep your eyes on the cart behind. Here comes Lucian Smith from KR Sport in the 240. Van Berkel goes to the outside here at turn 3. It opens the door for the 240. He's just set the new fastest lap of the race. 58.072 from Lucian Smith. And now Finley Lines joins the back of the line. Kian Bernard is not that far behind either, is the 282 from Sam Pollitt Racing. As we come down to the last minute and 20, plus an additional lap. And Van Berkel nearly stuck her nose up the inside of Pascu through into turn 10. Lucian Smith was thinking the same. Finley Lines now starting to get his elbows out a little bit because he's having to defend against Kian Bernard, who's right on his rear bumper. And the top 5 crossed the line, covered by just under 1 3/4 seconds. We're on lap number 7. It's going to be 2 more laps to go after this. Van Berkel's coming with a head of steam in towards turn 3. She goes wheel to wheel with Pascu and takes second position. And Finley Lines now finds himself behind Kian Bernard, or has that changed again? No, Lines back in 4th position. Lines now in 6th position. I've just noticed the bright green, unmistakable shade of colour on his race helmet. We do have we've got green flags waving heading into turn 10. But it is going to be that Harry Taylor, who had a drama in the first race, let's not forget. He's getting a little bit of redemption here in Heat 3. So 2 laps to go. Taylor, Van Berkel, Pascu, Smith, Bernard, Lines, Clark, Seidel, Moonen and Dumas. That is your top 10. Pascu trying to get back through on Lieke van Berkel, but the 285 from SP Motorsport, the team run and operated by Stan Pex. As could there be an opportunity through into 6? No, Pascu did not take advantage of the situation because he had to defend against Lucian Smith, who's got Kian Bernard breathing down his neck. And now side by side, and Finley Lines gets the bog off special. Buy one, get one free for the 281. Bernard dived up the inside of Lucian Smith, and Finley Lines just mugged the pair of them with a textbook move at turn 8. This time around we start the 9th and final lap of this race, and Harry Taylor's lead is now 1 3/4 seconds. Pascu, P2, Lines, P3, Bernard. And what's happened to Van Berkel? What on earth has happened to Lieke van Berkel? She's tumbled Very much in the same vein as we saw with Harry Taylor in one of the earlier heats. And Ruslan Sraya, the Algerian, is out of the race. But Lieke van Berkel, oh, what a drama. Her last lap was a 1:07. So maybe there was some drama in the mid-pack. And then all of a sudden, she was the one that caught the rough end of the stick. But meantime, Harry Taylor has bolted like a greyhound at the races. Lines is going to try and do what he can to hold on to P2. Harry Taylor wins Heat 3. Lines and Bernard to the line. Lines takes it by 42 thousandths. Lucian Smith rounds out your provisional top four. Luan Seidel, Lucian Smith P4, Luan Seidel P5, Rades Pascu, Julian Dimmer, Jenthe Moonen, Sebastian Clark and Dida Dadala round out the top 10. But it was Harry Taylor after just 9 laps, 13.05 kilometres. The 2:53 from Dan Holland Racing takes the win here in the final qualifying heat. Ahead of the 2:81 of Finley Lines, the 2:82 of Kian Bernard. Smith, Seidel, Pascu, Dimmer, Moonen, Clark, Dadala, Mousse and Walker ran at your top 12. Then we had Nathan Nukuho, Yanis Courage, Justin Fonk, Lieke van Berkel. After drama on the final sector of the penultimate lap, she ends up 16th. Head of Bruce Rambo, Leo Hardouin also had a difficult race to stomach. In 18th, head of Dion Braque and Leon Herbos. Ozan Alpaslan, Lionel Munguia, Ludwig Hansson and Max Posal round out your 24 strong. And Algeria's Ruslan Sraya unfortunately retired on lap number 5. So from the final qualifying heats in the juniors, we go to seniors for their third and final qualifying heat. So a few minutes for the drivers to soak in a little bit of those sunshine rays from up above from the skies here in eastern France. So after this, we will take a break in proceedings, and then we will be back for another addition to the live stream coverage, as we'll cover the final 4 races of the 2026 BNL Karting Series season opener here at Racing Kart JPR in Austria in France. So we are not that far away, about just under 5 minutes to go. There has been a bit of a development in the Minimax division that we have had a change in the results for the pre-final for Mini. And, well, it looks like Austin Oman has been demoted to the back of the grid, which says to me exclusion. And I think from what I understand, I think it is the fact that Austin Oman was found to be underweight post-race, which means Austin Oman will start from the last position on the grid, and that will promote Maria Roberto to the outside of the front row alongside KR Sport teammate Joshua Cook. August Lingzo will be promoted to the inside of row 2. Alongside we'll have Charlie Page, and Arthur Bowers was also promoted to the race winner in Mini Rookie. Zayn Safoglu did have a penalty post-race, and that was for 5-second time penalty for being in the incorrect position at the start. We also had penalties for Gabriel Wallet, Can Aras Akgun, Henry Moyat, and Dayan Habits. Dayan Habits was actually found to have actually jump-started, so full start for Dayan Habits, 5-second penalty. The other 3 drivers I mentioned, front bumper in a non-conforming position as per the regulations. So basically front bumpers were in, that was it. Also, Evert van Middendorp did get disqualified from the session for a technical non-conformity. As we go, 2 engines being fired up on the grid, and here it is, your last qualifying heat of round 1 of the BNL Karting Series season in 2026. Your grid is as follows. It's an all Bouvin power front row, and that is going to have the 2 drivers in the form of Vince van der Holle and Bran van der Weken on the front row. Charlie King and Antoine Lemieux on row 2. Harry Freeman and Raphael Moreau round out row 3 with Ryan Gander and Scott Marsh on row 4. Arnaud Sabaha and Lars Lambers row 5 completing the top 10. Thomas Verheyen, Ryan Bourguignon, Tino Sidler, Callum Sims, Danny Shields, Tom Langlois, Victor Galmiche, Vic Van Kampenhout, Antoine Taron, Bastien Misnil, Thijs van Wijk, Jay de Riesgaard, Luca de Moitru, Krik Knoren, Rein van der Meer, Koen Willems, Leon van Hecke, and Arav Dewan from India rounds out the grid. So after this race, once the results have been ratified and confirmed, 6 drivers will not take part in the top 36 final for senior Rotax. And it's in the finals where points mean prizes. Here we go. Van der Holle and Van der Weken on the front row of the grid. Out of the final quarter, revs up, lights on. We go green for the final qualifying heat of the weekend, and it's a run to turn number 1. And it's a flying formation for Van der Holle and Van der Weken as they go through, and it's Van der Holle that is leading the way. And actually, Charlie King got a great start from P3. However, Van der Weyken is down in 5th position, so behind Charlie King, and he's ended up behind Antoine Lemieux, the Canadian, in the 303 from KR Sports. There's Harry Freeman, and great to see the true tradition of KR Sport wearing the old Sunday best, the Sunday whites on show. Also, along with that, Van der Weyken has got to start getting a wriggle on here. But in the meantime, Harry Freeman now is in 3rd position, chasing down Strawberry Racing's Charlie King for P2. Van der Halle leading the way by 0.3 of a second. King in P2. Freeman et al. Now it's... this is becoming a bit of a... And there's Antoine Lemieux going wheel to wheel out of turn 3 with Charlie King. King takes 3rd back. Lars Lambers finds his way past Bouvin Power teammate Bram van der Weyken. Danny Shields, the man from the UAE. And I'm hoping Barry and Sue, mum and dad, the dad and mum of Danny, are watching along. I'm sure they are. Hope you're all keeping well over there. Danny Shields goes purple in the opening sector. Callum Sims goes purple in sector 2. But the race is really starting to heat up. 2 minutes in, 5 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. And Van der Halle extends his lead over Harry Freeman, who's now up to P2. He started 5th on the grid and has got through on Charlie King. Then just behind them, Lemoyne and Lambers. And bit of a moment there for Antoine Lemieux. Lars Lambers gets through. Ryan Gandor is currently running 7th ahead of Scott Marsh. He's just gone purple in the opening sector. Arnaud Sabahat and Danny Shields now hits the top 10. From 15th to 10th for the man from KR Sports in the number 325. Callum Sims at the moment has the fastest lap of the race of 57.703. But sometimes it's not always about the fastest lap. All 3 wide into turn 12. That's never going to end well. They just about get away with it by the scrape, by the skin of the bottom of their race suits. We have, however, had a drama. Antoine Taron and Rein Vandermeer have struck trouble, and they were about 5 to 6 seconds off of everybody else. And it looked like it was the final sector that the drama happened, maybe. But new fastest lap. Keep your eyes on the 342. Bouvin Powers, Lars Lambers. 57.370. New fastest lap around this 1.45 kilometre 13 turn clockwise circuit. Freeman to the inside. And that is now the lead for the KR Sport driver. From 5th. Now to the lead of the race with 3 1/4 minutes plus an additional lap to go. And Harry Freeman leads us on to lap number 5, and look at the train following him. It's getting longer. Ryan Gandor at the back of it. And Freeman goes defensive. Van der Weyken to the outside on Charlie King. He got through, but they both got mugged, because I spy with my little eye the 305 of Canada's Ryan Gandor is now up into 4th position. And here goes another change. Lambers through, and that would have been for 2nd. Oh, and Gandor nearly loses the back end. The kart was sideways to the right coming out of the chicane. He dives through on Lambers at turn 10. Hang on a second, it's not the roller coaster, it's the fact that the gloves are well and truly off. And Ryan Gandor, now up from 7th, is currently 2nd. Lars Lambers in P3 chasing down the Canadian as they go into the hard braking zone for the hairpin here at turn 3. Lambers has got to be careful, he's got Van der Weyken. Oh, who was that? That was Vince van der Halle, who's just gone wide at turn 3. and has dropped to the bottom part of the top 10, if not 10th. But the thing is now with Ryan Gandor battling away with Lars Lambers and Bran van der Weyken. Gandor's teammate, Harry Freeman, is now 1 3/4 seconds up the road. Lambers tries to dive to the inside of Gandor for turn 2 for second position. But here comes Van der Weyken. Oh my goodness. Van der Weyken got a double toe, and one of which was on his teammate, who he nearly clashes sidewalls with. And now, Harry Freeman's going to be laughing all the way to the bank with this one. 2.3 seconds. It's gone up by 6/10 in just the opening sector alone. It's got up another 2/10 in sector 2. That's 8/10 of a second as down to the inside. What the Bouvan Power teammates do not need to do now is to start squabbling. And now Lambers through on Van der Weyken. Here comes, Callum Sims from Evolution Racing round the outside. Beautiful little bit of work from the Brit. Tino Sidler is there. Scott Marsh is there. Charlie King is there. Bran van der Weyken all the way down in 8th. And here goes Tino Sidler trying to go through on Charlie Sims. Callum Sims on that one. Sims managing to hold on. And Vince van der Holler's all the way down in 10th position. This is really going to mix up the grid for the final later on. To the inside of Callum Sims dives Tino Sidler. And then Scott Marsh mugs the pair of them. Oh dear, no. Charlie King and Callum Sims, they have a slight bit of a touch. And Sims goes off, kicking up the dust, the dry mud and the grass off of the chicane. Final lap underway, and Harry Freeman is 2.6 seconds clear. Bran van der Weyken goes off at turn 13, dipping the left rear wheel into the dust. But there is Ryan Gandor, who started in P7. Behind him, Lars Lambers in P3, up 7 spots. Thijs van Wijk has made his way up 11 positions, started 21st. Now is at the bottom part of the top 10. Danny Shields has had a drama in the meantime. The 325 from the UAE, now down in 25th position. But Harry Freeman has been given a big get out of jail free card. Do pass go. Do pass 200. Do collect £200 on the Monopoly board. And he will win here in Heat 3. It's a 1-2 for Ash Orchard's crew at KR Sport as Ryan Gandor takes second. Lars Lambers, Scott Marsh, Tino Sidler and Callum Sims round out your top 6. Vince van der Holle recovers to finish 7th ahead of Rafael Mahor, Bran van der Weyken and from the Netherlands, Thijs van Wijk complete your top 10. Bastien Mesnil, Arnaud Sabaha and Antoine Lemieux round out the top 13. Charlie King finishes 14th after the off-track excursion off of turn 8. And finishes ahead of Ryan Bourguignon, Tom Langlois, Krik Knoren, Thomas Verheyen. Arav Dewan makes up another 9 places in this race and finishes 19th with Victor Galamiche rounding out the top 20. Antoine Taron, Luca de Moit through Danny Shields, Gal de Riscard, Koen Willems round out your top 25. Rein van der Meer, Liam van Hekke and Vic van Kampen help bring up the rear of the field. And all 28 drivers completed the race and were covered by just over 15.7 seconds. So that concludes the morning or early afternoon's action as we're here at nearly 3:15 local time. That concludes our coverage from the qualifying heats and the pre-finals for Day 2, Round 1 of the 2026 BNL Karting Series season. We will be back just before 4 o'clock this afternoon as we will get underway with our last 4 races and the second opportunity for each of our classes to score points on the path to Portimao, the 2026 venue of the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals this year. This has been a WFR Live TV production. We'll see you very soon on the BNL Karting Series YouTube channel for live coverage of the finals from Racing Kart JPR in Austricourt, Eastern France. See you in a bit.
Ah, c'est pour ça qu'il n'y a plus personne là. Venez, on va sur la piste. Tiens, on n'a pas le cap let's go.
Oh, bah vas-y.
Rien à foutre.
Rien à foutre. Je sais pas si vous voyez, là il y a un JB. Ah, madame.